Time grinds forward, relentless and unforgiving. We meet our protagonist, Xu Xiaowen, age 24. His eyes reflect a life already full of weariness. He prepares for the daily grind, just trying to get by. His current job is that of a simple delivery rider. He descends from his cramped apartment into the world below. And of course, the landlords are waiting to collect the rent. Kicked out by his parents, he has no other options. A new order pops up, a brief distraction from his troubles. As night falls, he accepts the job, unaware of what's coming. Xu Xiaowen rides through the desolate city streets. Suddenly, a fiery figure blazes past him in pursuit. A thug flees down the alley, mocking the hero's power. But the flame wielder just smiles, ready to prove him wrong. The criminal is engulfed in flames, a lesson learned too late. Onlookers debate if these heroes bring peace or just more chaos. Their debate is cut short by a massive explosion nearby. Another hero swings in, saving a damsel with a bit too much flair. He lands with a flourish, striking a pose for the stunned crowd. The grateful woman thanks her rescuer, a new celebrity born. The hero milks the moment, asking for a 5-star rating. As the hero swings away, Xu Xiaowen continues his mundane ride. He pulls up to a noodle shop for his next delivery. The friendly owner expresses concern over his few daily orders. He praises Xu Xiaowen's skill, saying he could be the best. But the words "the first" strike a nerve deep and cold. The shopkeeper is stunned by the sudden shift in mood. Xu Xiaowen just snatches the order and peels out. So much for a tip. His inner thoughts reveal a terrible curse from his past lives. He's doomed to excel, to become number one at any cost. He recalls the absurd, comical ways his curse has claimed him. In his last life, he was an all-powerful immortal emperor. He believed he was invincible, beyond the reach of fate. But the universe has a very twisted sense of humor. The mightiest immortal taken out by a common melon seed. So this time, his grand plan is to be utterly mediocre. He just wants to live a quiet, uneventful life until he's 80. But of course, trouble comes running right to his doorstep. A woman in distress leaps right over his head. She unleashes a flying kick, but Xu Xiaowen is just over it. She lands perfectly on his shoulders, a rather awkward predicament. The impact sends them both tumbling to the unforgiving pavement. Xu Xiaowen tries to process what just happened, his head ringing. The woman explains her desperate situation, begging for his help. She clarifies these aren't just thugs, but superpowered criminals. For a brief moment, her expression shifts to one of annoyance, but she quickly resumes her act, pleading for him not to leave her. While she fears for her life, our boy is doing financial planning. He coldly tells her he's just trying to stay out of her mess. Stunned, she asks if he can read minds, but he just wants to finish his shift. And right on cue, her pursuer steps out from the shadows, promising pain. He's Lim Kui, a level 4 criminal with frost abilities, here to collect a debt. He scoffs at the sight of Xu Xiaowen, dismissing him as useless. She urges him to escape, but Xu Xiaowen just wants her to get off his bike. Desperate, she grabs his shirt, refusing to let him leave her behind. But our boy is a man of principle, agreeing that debts should be paid. The thug warns him to mind his own business, a suggestion Xu Xiaowen is happy to take. He agrees immediately, leaving the woman utterly speechless at his cowardice. But his simple compliance somehow enrages the thug, who feels disrespected. He declares himself the boss of this area, his frost powers beginning to manifest. Xu Xiaowen sighs, completely over this unnecessary drama. The thug, Lim Kui, is momentarily stunned by his nonchalance. In the blink of an eye, he's left holding an empty shirt. Xu Xiaowen reappears, his patience finally worn thin. He unleashes a devastating kick right to the thug's jaw. The impact is brutal, shattering teeth and drawing blood. Lim Kui is sent flying backward down the dark alley. So much for being the boss of this particular area. But the frost wielder isn't done, summoning an ice shield. He looks up to see a terrifying power ready to devour him. With blinding speed, Xu Xiaowen follows through with his kick. The blow shatters the ice shield in a fiery, devastating explosion. From the thug's perspective, his reign as boss is officially over. But a sudden, urgent thought strikes Xu Xiaowen. His delivery. The woman is stunned that a level 4 user was defeated in one move. As he rushes off, she watches with a newfound intense curiosity. She pulls out a device, running a scan on the departing rider. The combat effectiveness test returns a single frustrating question mark. She's left completely baffled, wondering who this person could be. But our boy is just thinking about his greedy landlord raising the rent. The sudden demand for 3 months' rent shatters his plans. He crunches the numbers, the weight of his debt settling in. The sheer number of deliveries required is utterly absurd. He's haunted by his landlord's suggestion to get a roommate. Desperate for cash, he posts an ad for a roommate online. But the fear of his curse holds him back from any real effort. He recoils in horror, his curse dictating his every move. And just like that, a reply pops up. Well, that was fast. He wonders if his curse is already at work again. The potential roommate provides an address and a meeting time. The single reply sits on his screen, a beacon of hope or doom. He He immediately regrets his decision, considering deleting the post, but the thought of rent money forces him to reconsider. He heads out into a city that's just another Tuesday of superhero chaos. He reflects on his curse, knowing any path could lead to unwanted greatness. He recalls a past life as an artist, just trying to help a friend. But his art was so good it literally broke the internet. And then him. The memory is a stark reminder of why he must remain mediocre. His new goal, survive the day without accidentally becoming the best at anything. He waits for the potential roommate, the meeting now just half an hour away. Xu Xiaowen climbs the stairs, already calculating the profits. He sees this as a blessing, a solution to his money problems. But his happy thoughts are cut short by a shocking sight. Standing at the top of the stairs is his potential roommate, and it's none other than the woman he saved just the other night. The two of them quickly realize this is no coincidence. But she's not here to rent a room, she's here for him. Our boy, ever the fan of minding his own business, is not impressed. She explains her high-tech detector malfunctioned because of him. She lays out her tragic backstory, hoping for some sympathy. But Xu Xiaowen remains unmoved, telling her to handle her own debts. She clings to him, playing the victim card, but he's not buying it. He threatens to call the police, but she knows they're powerless here. A confident smirk spreads across her face. She has the upper hand. She reveals her true purpose, suspecting he's a powerful, unregistered user. She deduces that his humble life must be hiding a massive secret. Xu Xiaowen's eyes turn cold, suggesting a permanent way to keep that secret. But his threat is completely ignored as she picks out her new room. She's already making plans to redecorate his rundown apartment. Our boy is left fuming, his warning falling on deaf ears. Xu Xiaowen is horrified as his new roommate starts undressing. She makes herself comfortable, claiming this is her home now too. He warns her of the risks, but she reveals a surprising truth. He's stunned to learn she's a high-ranking section head. She confirms her title, enjoying his complete and utter shock. A section head in this rundown place? Seems perfectly legitimate? She switches tactics, begging him to take her money and rent her the room. Xu Xiaowen's resolve begins to crumble under the pressure. The sight of the cash is a powerful, undeniable argument. Defeated, he accepts the deal and his chaotic new life begins. Xu Xiaowen is momentarily stunned by her forwardness. She lies back, making a rather tempting, if unprofessional, offer. The night deepens, hinting at the adult's business she has in mind. She continues her attempt to lure him into her mysterious proposal, but Xu Xiaowen is having absolutely none of it. Unfazed, she insists this could solve many of his problems. She dangles a cryptic warning about the fate of the first. Her words hit their mark, and suddenly, he's very interested. She simply says a little investigation goes a long way. The implication is clear, and he accuses her of stalking him. She explains her job was tracking suspicious subjects just like him. Xu Xiaowen stands firm, refusing to be coerced by her knowledge. He misinterprets her offer, flustered by her suggestive approach. Our boy loses his composure, demanding she stop being so cryptic. But her adult business was simply about making a lot of money. Xu Xiaowen is left completely baffled by the sudden turn of events. She reveals her theory. His power is an unheard of level 6. And she knows he fears the association's tests would prove he is the first. She offers him a deal, work with her and join without any ranking. But Xu Xiaowen is suspicious, asking why she would help a stranger. She admits her motive is simple and pure, cold, hard cash. She lays out the terms, a base salary plus a 50-50 split on all bonuses. He questions her trust, but she counters with a thinly veiled threat. She frames it as the perfect deal, a win for everyone involved. But their negotiation is cut short by a sudden knock at the door. He moves to answer, expecting his landlord to be on the other side. But standing in the doorway is someone he's never seen before. She introduces herself as Wang Yike, here to answer his roommate Ad. Xu Xiaowen is completely floored by her sudden appearance. She explains she found his address and decided to just show up. Xu Xiaowen tries to play it cool, claiming he just missed her message. He invites her in to see the place if she doesn't mind the mess. Internally, he's just relieved he deleted the post before his curse made it famous. Wang Yike steps inside, taking in her potential new home. She's already sold on the place, asking which room she can claim. But from the shadows of another doorway, a figure emerges. His first roommate appears, asking who's disturbing her peace. Wang Yike is taken aback, wondering if this is the landlord's girlfriend. But the woman is surprisingly welcoming, insisting she rent the room. She introduces herself as Lin Miao Miao, another brand new tenant. Xu Xiaowen suddenly warns the two women to step back. They look on in confusion, unsure what he means. In the next second, the apartment wall is blown to pieces. The women scream in terror as the room is torn apart. Xu Xiaowen explains this is precisely why he told them to move. Through the dust and smoke, a figure emerges from the rubble. A battered man sits up, having been thrown through their wall. Our boy calmly asks if this was some kind of terrorist attack. A new hulking figure appears, mocking the injured man's low power level. He's here to teach the association a lesson about insubordination. Lin Miao Miao analyzes the intruder, a level 5 criminal, but Wang Yike panics, revealing she's only a level 3. Lin Miao Miao tries to de-escalate, warning him to surrender. She's hoping her bluff about backup will buy them some time. The villain scoffs, unimpressed by her threats against his group. But Lin Miao Miao sees this as a chance to test Xu Xiaowen's power. She turns to find him doing something completely unexpected. Our boy is calmly patching the hole in his wall. Priorities, people. He reflects that his curse has been far too active lately. He tells the women this is an association problem, not his. Lin Miao Miao grabs his shirt, invoking the classic hero's creed. But Xu Xiaowen coldly replies he's just a junior high dropout. Wang Yike warns them that the hulking villain is getting angry. His crimson aura flares as he prepares to end this. He launches his attack, shattering the floor beneath him. The villain soars through the air, promising death to them all. His fist comes crashing down, but Xu Xiaowen's hand stops it cold. Our boy glances back, his expression one of pure annoyance. Lin Miao Miao can only stare, stunned that she was just saved. The villain declares him the first to ever withstand his punch. Xu Xiaowen wonders if all villains use the same tired script. The hulking brute decides it's time to get serious. He activates his power, encasing his arms in steel. He looms over our boy, asking if he's ever seen hell. Xu Xiaowen deadpans that he used to work there, 9 to 5. Enraged, the villain charges forward with blinding speed. He lands a devastating punch right to Xu Xiaowen's face. But our boy is more concerned about who's paying for the damages. The villain roars that there's no need for repairs if he's dead. Xu Xiaowen's eyes glow, warning him never to speak of death. The villain unleashes a furious barrage of steel-hardened fists. But Xu Xiaowen's expression isn't fear. It's something else entirely. He cries out in horror as his beloved couch is destroyed. The carnage continues, claiming his refrigerator next. A man has his priorities. The brute pauses, admitting Xu Xiaowen's evasive skills are impressive. But our boy is just mourning his broken appliances in a moment of crisis. The villain's final warning is cut short by a hand on his face. Xu Xiaowen shoves him back, calculating the cost of the damages. He sends the villain flying with enough force to leave the planet. The two women can only stare as Xu Xiaowen wonders what to do next. While Xu Xiaowen worries about rent, Lin Miao Miao suspects he has a mind-reading power. She realizes she's stumbled upon a hidden treasure, a powerful new ally. Wang Yike confronts her, amazed that a level 5 was defeated so easily. The injured association member finally speaks, demanding to know who Xu Xiaowen is. Xu Xiaowen calmly asks the man when he regained consciousness. The man admits he was awake the entire time, witnessing everything. Lin Miao Miao panics, realizing her colleague saw everything and knows his secret. They immediately start bickering, because that's what roommates do. Wang Yike observes their argument, realizing they want to keep this quiet. Stepping forward, she offers a solution to their little problem. Wang Yike steps forward, her hand glowing with a strange power. She tells the injured man that he is the one who can defeat Lucas. She places a finger on his forehead, her power flowing into him. Xu Xiaowen and Lin Miao Miao watch, surprised by this sudden turn. The man sits dazed, repeating her words like a mantra. She calmly tells him everything is all right, her power still active. She reveals her solution. She's completely rewritten his memory. Lin Miao Miao identifies the power as hypnosis, a rare and unregistered ability. She knows powers like hypnosis and mind reading are highly valued by the association. Lin Miao Miao smirks, realizing their new living arrangement will be interesting. As Xu Xiaowen attempts some impromptu home repair, Lin Miao Miao asks to be let in. He peeks through the hole to find a trio of suited agents at his door. She introduces herself as Jin Shan, secretary of the association's cleaning section. Surprised by their rapid response, Xu Xiaowen lets them inside. She explains her department is responsible for cleaning up the mess heroes leave behind. The crew gets to work, as Jin Shan congratulates Chief Lin on her success. The hypnotized agent is presented as the hero who defeated the villain, Lucas. Jin Shan is understandably skeptical about this sudden power spike. Lin Miao Miao confirms the story, adding that Xu Xiaowen also provided assistance. Jin Shan accepts the official report, noting the bonus will be paid out shortly. But Jin Shan points out a problem. Wang Yike isn't registered. Lin Miao Miao quickly concocts a story to smooth things over. The story is accepted, and the villain is hauled away. As the crew departs, Jin Shan apologizes for the intrusion. She offers him a business card for any future incidents, but Lin Miao Miao steps in, taking control of the situation. Jin Shan agrees, respectfully addressing her as Chief Lin. With the coast clear, Lin Miao Miao invites him to her room. Business, I'm sure. He then asks Wang Yike if she's still interested in renting the place. She apologizes for the chaos, but he just tells her to settle in. He enters her room, unsure of what to expect from this meeting. Meanwhile, Wang Yike watches from afar, her expression unreadable. Xu Xiaowen cuts to the chase, asking what she wants to discuss. She gets right back to their deal, laying out the registration process. But our boy pushes back, reminding her he never actually agreed. Lin Miao Miao reveals she's already set the wheels in motion. She explains that the association is already suspicious of him. He collapses in frustration, but she calls it a golden opportunity. She then sweetens the deal with a very unprofessional offer. Xu Xiaowen is horrified, reminding her of her professional duties. She laughs it off, claiming it was all just a joke. She clarifies her real motive. She needs his power to pay off her debts. She insists this arrangement is mutually beneficial, a deal he can't refuse. She leans in close, her words and actions blurring professional lines. Overwhelmed, he asks for one night to consider her offer. She agrees, but gives him a strict deadline for the next morning. Defeated, he sarcastically agrees to her terms. What other choice does he have? The door clicks shut, leaving him alone with his thoughts. He finally processes the situation. This isn't a deal, it's blackmail. But as he paces, he admits there's some truth to her words. But his contemplation is cut short by a sudden, unwelcome guest. A strange, steaming spider scuttles across his floorboards. Elsewhere, that same arachnid's bite triggers a horrifying transformation. A human leg twists into a monstrous, thorny appendage. The spider, marked with a heart, is clearly more than just a simple pest. But our boy's solution is decidedly low-tech and very effective. He cautiously lifts the book, disgusted by the green mess left behind. He just complains about the bugs, oblivious to the chaos he just averted. The story shifts, hinting at a new player entering the game. And in a lavish room somewhere else, a desperate man begs for his life. He offers all the money he has, surrounded by her spider minions. But a hand grips his chin, its owner uninterested in wealth. A terrifying spider woman reveals herself, with a much more personal price in mind. Her swarm of arachnids closes in, a tide of clicking legs. She makes him an offer he literally can't refuse. Her plan involves raising a very unique kind of family, but her enthusiasm wanes as she senses his submissive nature. The man, however, seems to have a sudden change of heart. A very, very weird change of heart. Her disgust is palpable. This was not the reaction she was hoping for. She declares him useless, and his pleas for mercy begin all over again. The man's screams are silenced as the spider swarm consumes him. His eyes go blank, reflecting the horrifying green glow of his demise. In moments, only a skeleton remains, a testament to her power. The spider woman stretches, deciding she'll make his home her new lair. She calls upon her babies to help her change into something more comfortable. A tide of arachnids and green energy begins to reshape her form. The swarm envelops her completely in a swirling, magical vortex. She emerges with a new, far more alluring appearance. She notes this form is necessary to avoid scaring off potential prey. With business done, she sends her children out to fetch some takeout. Her swarm of spiders floods out into the city streets. She settles in, ready to begin her twisted version of a vacation. Meanwhile, a news alert warns of a deadly spider infestation. Xu Xiaowen glances over, still focused on his home repairs. Wang Yike finds the timing of the news a little too convenient. But our boy just writes it off as another Tuesday in this crazy city. He then asks Wang Yike why she's not at her association job. Just then, Lin Miao Miao appears, explaining she got the day off. She immediately gets back to business, cornering him about her offer. And by business, she means getting extremely close and personal. Xu Xiaowen is suddenly pulled into a panicked, desperate embrace. Their brief moment of chaos is cut short as they turn to the real problem. Wang Yike bursts out of her room screaming in absolute terror. The floor is a moving carpet of venomous black spiders. Lin Miao Miao springs into action, stomping the pests into oblivion. She yells at Xu Xiaowen to stop standing there and lend a hand. But our boy is completely frozen, a look of pure horror on his face. Lin Miao Miao can't believe it, asking if he's actually afraid of spiders. Apparently, the man who can punch villains into orbit has a tiny, 8-legged weakness. She pleads for his help again as the tide of arachnids becomes overwhelming. He shoves Lin Miao Miao aside, telling her to get out of the way. But she just watches, calmly asking what he plans to do. In response, Xu Xiaowen unleashes a terrifying wave of fire. A roaring dragon of flame consumes the entire apartment. Lin Miao Miao can only stare in absolute unfiltered shock. With the spiders gone, Xu Xiaowen declares his eternal hatred for them. Lin Miao Miao's mind races, wondering just how many powers he's hiding. Our boy just smirks, teasing her about her own mind-reading skills. Flustered, she storms off, unable to get a straight answer. She realizes she's dealing with someone far more infuriating than she thought. With the fire out, Xu Xiaowen tells his roommates to clean up as he heads to work. Wang Yike emerges from her room, completely baffled by his nonchalant attitude. But Lin Miao Miao stops him, explaining the city's services are shut down. The news of a day off hits our boy harder than any supervillain punch. She shows him the citywide alert, confirming it's a spider infestation. He reads about the mass casualties, his expression growing grim. The pieces click into place. This is more than just a pest problem. He declares a personal vendetta, a war between him and all spider kind. Elsewhere, in a lavish villa, someone lets out a sudden sneeze. The Spider Woman wonders who could possibly be cursing her name. An association agent crashes through a window, guns blazing. She's Faye, a level 4 secretary here to make an arrest. But the Spider Woman is unimpressed, lounging casually on the couch. She taunts the agent, asking if she's sure she wants her to disarm. Faye meets her challenge with a confident, unwavering smirk. The villain agrees, as her swarm of spiders begins to emerge. Faye keeps her guns trained, demanding to know what's happening. The Spider-Woman explains her babies are her real weapons. Classic villain logic. With no other choice, Faye leaps forward and fires a devastating shot. She lands a direct hit, confident that the fight is already over. But the bullet dissolves into green energy, stopped by a living shield of spiders. Her babies form an impenetrable defense, absorbing the attack completely. Faye can only stare in disbelief, her confidence utterly shattered. The Spider-Woman taunts her, warning that playtime is officially over. Back at the apartment, Wang Yik admits she barely used any of her power. Xu Xiaowen just blames the previous day's chaos for some loose screws. He calls for Lin Miao Miao, who emerges looking deeply preoccupied. She explains the association has suddenly called her back into service. So much for that day off. She worries about the repair costs before rushing to leave. As she departs, Xu Xiaowen tells Wang Yiki to ignore it and focus on home repairs. He suddenly shouts a warning, his arachnophobia kicking back in. Wang Yika leaps into his arms, startled by his sudden outburst. But his fear is quickly replaced by a much different kind of shock. He's momentarily taken out, not by a villain, but by simple human contact. She snaps him out of it, telling him they need to seal the hole. Xu Xiaowen, completely flustered, asks for a bit of clarification. She points to the gaping hole in the wall, the obvious answer to his question. Meanwhile, at the association headquarters, an agent delivers an urgent report. A high-ranking official arrives, asking for an update on Secretary Faye. An agent reports that Faye was seriously injured but is now out of danger. The high-ranking official questions the report on the villain, Arachne. Her subordinate explains that Arachne escaped, but was badly wounded. She orders her intelligence section to find the villain immediately. But she's intrigued by how a top agent like Faye could have lost. The elevator doors open, revealing a familiar face. It's Lin Miao Miao, back in her element as a section chief. She immediately puts her colleague to work on a new task. 3 days pass and the city is still on lockdown. The spider infestation has only grown worse, spreading fear. A lone rider spots one of the creatures, his day officially ruined. He declares a personal war on the city's spider infestation. With a look of pure hatred, he prepares to eliminate the first victim. And with a single satisfying crunch, the battle begins. Later, back on the job, he arrives at his next delivery location. The door creaks open, revealing a sliver of the world inside. A man answers, asking for the food while munching on a snack. The exchange is brief and the door is quickly shut in his face. As he turns to leave, a notification dings on his phone. He checks the message, his expression turning to one of disbelief. It's a 1-star review, blaming him for spiders in the hot pot. So much for a tip. But then a moment of pure joy, a 4-star review. He realizes the spiders are helping him avoid his curse of being number 1. He quickly snaps out of it, annoyed that his plan is in shambles. Elsewhere, in a dark alley, the city's true problem festers. The villain Arachne is wounded, cursing the association for her defeat. She calls upon her babies, hoping their essence will heal her. Her eyes glow red as she demands more from her swarm. But she realizes their life force is far from enough. She decides she needs to find a man and drain him completely. In her monstrous form, she begins her hunt through the city. Xu Xiaowen finds himself at a second-hand market, mourning his broken-down scooter. He calculates the cost, another expense he simply can't afford. But his financial woes are cut short by a sudden chilling presence. A massive bladed leg crashes down just inches away from him. The villain Arachne looms over him, her hunt finally bearing fruit. Our boy is understandably horrified by the giant talking spider lady. She sizes him up, noting he's a bit on the skinny side for her tastes. But she decides he'll do just fine for a quick snack. And suddenly, a memory from a past life flashes through his mind. He recalls being a monk captured by 7 spider demons. Deja vu is a terrible thing. The spider demon tries to tempt the young monk from his sacred path. Her sisters join in, promising him a paradise of earthly delights. But the monk recites his scriptures, trying to resist their allure. His resolve fails and he finds himself their prisoner. The lead demon offers him freedom, but for a very specific price. He braced himself for a test of will, a battle against seduction. But it turns out they just needed a weaving teacher. Seriously. And so, he became the #1 silk weaver in the demon realm. His captors are overjoyed with his masterful craftsmanship. And just like that, his soul is kicked out. Another life, another curse. His beautiful creation was so perfect, it summoned a divine tribulation. Snapping back to reality, he recognizes the familiar form of a spider spirit. Xu Xiaowen puts the pieces together, asking if she's behind the infestation. She scoffs, saying she only eats scum, and offers him a chance for last words. He considers her offer, his mind racing, but his expression hardens. He has nothing to say to her. She makes him a final, crude offer, but he senses the real danger. She explains her venom will give him a painless, hallucinogenic death. How thoughtful. In a flash, something is thrown with blinding speed. The Spider-Woman is caught completely off guard by the sudden attack. The projectile, his own scooter, slams into the ground with explosive force. Arachne looks around in confusion, wondering where her prey has gone. She stands in the crater, unable to find any trace of him. Suddenly, Xu Xiaowen appears right beside her, much to her shock. He asks a very specific question, wondering if she can produce silk. She completely misinterprets his intentions, thinking he's into something kinky. But our boy is not in the mood for games, grabbing her hand mid-gesture. He uses her own momentum to effortlessly flip her over his shoulder. His eyes burn with a rage that has nothing to do with saving the city. He repeatedly slams her into the ground, demanding an answer. He declares that her ability to spit silk is a crime worthy of death. With the threat neutralized, he calmly walks away from the scene. But his dramatic exit is immediately ruined by a stray soda can. He kicks it away, furious about being tricked into knitting yet again. As he leaves, an unseen figure watches him from the shadows. Elsewhere, news of Arachne's defeat sends shockwaves through the association. Night falls over the city, and over Xu Xiaowen's apartment. Lin Miao Miao returns home, announcing her arrival with a flourish. She explains she just heard Arachne was defeated right in their neighborhood. Xu Xiaowen admits he's the one who did it, all because of a bad memory. Lin Miao Miao lets out a sigh, completely done with his nonchalance. She asks why he wouldn't mention taking on a high-level villain. Our boy just admits that his hatred for spiders was too strong to resist. She hands him his commission for the Lucas fight, explaining the pay is lower. But Xu Xiaowen isn't listening. His eyes are locked on the cash. He immediately declares he's in, his financial woes overriding all other concerns. With the deal sealed, she tells him to report for training on Monday. That night, Xu Xiaowen tosses and turns, his mind racing. He wakes the next morning, stretching as a new day begins. A quiet moment of contemplation before his new life officially starts. But his quiet morning is interrupted by a strange rustling in his bed. He stares at the lump under the covers, wondering if it's a person. With a deep breath, he cautiously lifts the blanket to investigate, and finds a strange woman passed out right next to him. He immediately drops the blanket, his mind struggling to catch up. His curse-addled brain wonders if this is its latest, most bizarre assassination attempt. The woman begins to stir, asking if it's morning already. She sits up, rubbing her eyes and greeting him by name. Xu Xiaowen is completely stunned that this stranger knows who he is. She then throws herself at him, complaining that she's hungry. He demands to know who this strange woman is. She teases him, implying they shared an intimate night together. Xu Xiaowen panics, insisting on his innocence and telling her to leave. Her expression turns sly, hinting that reality isn't always required. The pieces click into place. He asks if she's a powered user. She breaks into laughter, amused by his naive reaction. He finally loses his cool, demanding to know why she's in his home. A fair question. She calmly introduces herself as Wang Yihan. The name strikes a chord, and he asks about her link to Wang Yike. And right on cue, his other roommate appears at the door. Wang Yike stands in the doorway, completely stunned by the scene. She points a trembling finger, assuming the worst about the two of them. Xu Xiaowen frantically denies everything, but Wang Yihan just greets her sister with a smirk. The revelation hits him. These two are actually related. Later, over a very awkward breakfast, he wonders how they could possibly be sisters. Wang Yihan then makes a rather pointed comment about her sister's development. Our boy is just confused, thinking Wang Yiki looks far too young for this conversation. He questions his own eyesight, not seeing the vast difference she's talking about. But Wang Yike proudly declares her sister is the clan leader with a first-class figure. Xu Xiaowen's internal monologue, however, paints a very, very different picture. Wang Yihan explains that the Phantom Clan can change their forms at will. Xu Xiaowen is confused as she explains their origins as dream seducers. This power is actually a rare form of hypnosis, highly sought after by the association. She stretches, eager to get to know her new roommate. Our boy is less than thrilled. She puts a finger to her lips, a silent, playful invitation. A heart-shaped blast of energy flies from her fingertips. It explodes in a puff of pink smoke right at his feet. She strikes a pose, inviting him to enjoy their time together. The history of the Wang clan is revealed, a matriarchy built on power, and Wang Yihan is their most powerful leader in half a century. Wang Yihan is completely flustered by his lack of interest. She leans in close, asking why he shows no reaction at all. Xu Xiaowen just stares back, asking what she expects from him. She wonders if he's just hiding his true feelings for her sister's sake. But our boy calmly schools her on the diversity of human attraction. Her expression darkens, and Wang Yiki grows visibly nervous. She begs Xu Xiaowen to stop talking before her sister gets angry. But he's already moved on, focused on fixing his broken scooter. Wang Yihan refuses to believe any man could resist her charms. Wang Yike can only watch in horror, pleading with her sister to stop. She decides to prove her point, conjuring her hypnotic power. An arrow of pure energy is formed, designed to trap any man. It strikes Xu Xiaowen directly in the back, a perfect hit. Wang Yike looks on in horror, certain that the fight is over. Xu Xiaowen's vision blurs, the world around him fading away. He finds himself in a strange, unfamiliar purple void. Suddenly, he's surrounded by a sea of tempting apparitions. Wang Yihan appears as the queen of this domain, promising no escape. In the real world, Wang Yike panics, fearing for his sanity. But inside the illusion, Xu Xiaowen is just intrigued. Another Tuesday for the immortal emperor. But inside her own mindscape, Wang Yihan finds his calm demeanor unsettling. Xu Xiaowen simply offers her a casual thumbs up. He even congratulates her on the impressive display. So much for seduction. Furious at being mocked, she promises to make him pay for his arrogance. She unleashes her power, commanding the illusion to consume him. Her technique is designed to slowly drain the willpower of anyone trapped inside. A swarm of her previous victims, now mindless puppets, rushes forward. She declares that his annoying attitude has earned him a permanent place in her collection. But Xu Xiaowen just smirks, questioning the very premise of her attack. He coolly states that a child's willpower is the last thing he's ever needed. A strange blue energy begins to form a shield around him. It expands, effortlessly repelling her army of illusions. Wang Yihan can only stare, her confidence completely shattered. He warns her that if this makes him late for a delivery, there will be consequences. She's furious, unable to believe he's worried about work right now. She lunges forward, ready to teach him a lesson in priorities. But she's stunned to find he can use his own powers inside her mind. In the next instant, his hand is wrapped around her throat. A terrifying demonic aura erupts from his body, filling the void. With glowing eyes and a twisted grin, he asks her to guess who he really is. She struggles in his grip, unable to believe he's using his own power here. No human has ever broken free from her mental prison. Xu Xiaowen coolly asks if she's finally figured out he's not human. He tosses her aside, explaining he knows a thing or two about hypnosis. He reveals the only way to trap him is if he allows it to happen. She calls him a monster, realizing the association has no idea what he is. Apparently, she didn't get the memo, gathering her power for another try. She forms a heart, preparing another blast of her hypnotic energy. She threatens him with capture and experimentation by the association. But our boy just asks if she really wants to cast an illusion inside an illusion. She sees this as a rare chance to test her limits against a true monster. But Xu Xiaowen just stands there, inviting her to take her best shot. Wang Yihan is completely baffled by his calm and his cryptic words. He explains he's letting her appear in his own illusion. A creative little test. Furious at being underestimated, she unleashes her most powerful attack. The arrow strikes, but not against him. It shatters the very fabric of her reality. Her entire mental world crumbles into a million pieces. So much for that plan. Back in the real world, Wang Yihan collapses. The psychic backlash too much to handle. The commotion brings Lin Miao Miao out, complaining about the noise and the lack of soundproofing. Wang Yiki explains her sister just passed out, leaving them all to wonder what just happened. Wang Yiki panics, having never seen her powerful sister faint. But Xu Xiaowen calmly checks her pulse, saying she'll be fine. Lin Miao Miao then questions why her sister was in his room to begin with. She turns on Xu Xiaowen, scolding him for just standing there. But our boy is completely unresponsive, lost in his own world. Furious at being ignored, Lin Miao Miao delivers a swift kick. He falls to the floor, stiff as a board, much to her confusion. Wang Yike realizes he's still reeling from her sister's hypnosis. Lin Miao Miao puts the pieces together. Two sisters, the surname Wang. She finally identifies the unconscious woman as the Wang clan leader. Lin Miao Miao's expression shifts, a plan already forming in her mind. She informs Wang Yike that both sisters will be returning to the association. The very thought sends a wave of panic through the younger sister. Lin Miao Miao reveals the reason. Wang Yihan is a suspected member of a villain group. She insists it's just a friendly chat to clear up a misunderstanding. Sure it is. Wang Yike points out her sister is still unconscious, but Lin Miao Miao has a solution. She reveals a rare and powerful ability, a form of mind reading. She places a hand on Wang Yihan's head, delving into her subconscious. But what she finds in the clan leader's mind leaves her completely shocked. Wang Yike asks what's wrong, seeing the color drain from Lin Miao Miao's face. Inside Wang Yihan's mind, Lin Miao Miao finds only darkness. She's been pulled into a secondary illusion, a trap within a trap. She realizes this isn't Wang Yihan's mind, but a deeper, emptier space. She wonders where Xu Xiaowen is, as he should be here too. Suddenly, she collides with something solid in the void. Before her stands a massive, imposing wall of stone. She looks around, unnerved by the silent, empty darkness. Her gaze falls upon a colossal stone statue on a throne. Well, this is new. Suddenly, the statue's eyes ignite with a terrifying red glow. She can only stare in horror as the immense figure awakens. She wonders how he's become the master of her illusion. The pressure from the stone figure is absolutely breathtaking. Its massive stone hand begins to shift on the arm of the throne. Lin Miao Miao is but a speck before its immense, silent form. The statue slowly raises a finger, pointing directly at her. A voice echoes in the void, asking if she wants to know who it is. She can only swallow her fear, completely paralyzed. The voice reveals a name as the world shatters into fragments. Visions of his past lives flash before her, each ending in a ridiculous death. She sees him die again and again, an endless cycle of cursed greatness. The vision shifts, showing a woman slumped over her desk in exhaustion. Lin Miao Miao's eyes widen, the truth of his existence dawning on her. The revelation leaves her questioning the very nature of his identity. A single drop of sweat traces a path down her cheek, a sign of her fear. Inside the illusion, Xu Xiaowen confirms that all those lives were his, every single one of them doomed to die a miserable, cursed death. He then asks how he managed to take control of her illusion. A question he cheekily admits he can't answer himself. In a moment of pure panic, she covers her eyes, promising she saw nothing. Classic, nothing to see here defense. She realizes this man is far beyond her comprehension. Xu Xiaowen just smirks, asking where all her confidence went. She admits defeat, knowing a fight against this monster is pointless. Even Xu Xiaowen is confused by his own power's manifestation. He declares the game over, bored with their little mindscape. Lin Miao Miao resorts to empty threats, her confidence all but gone. But he reminds her that she's trapped here with him, not the other way around. Suddenly, Wang Yihan appears, her own power flaring to life. She claims she can end this illusion whenever she pleases. She gathers her hypnotic energy, preparing to break them all free, but her power fizzles out, having no effect whatsoever. Well, that's embarrassing. Xu Xiaowen casually asks if she needs a hand with that. Wang Yihan gathers her power, refusing to accept her defeat. She unleashes a whip of pure energy, but Xu Xiaowen is unmoved. The clan leader finally realizes he was telling the truth all along. With a sigh, our boy decides to end this game himself. A single kick shatters the very foundation of their mental prison. In the real world, Wang Yik desperately tries to wake her sister. The two of them reappear as the illusion finally crumbles away. Xu Xiaowen smirks, reminding her he said he'd have to handle it. But his victory is cut short by a sudden, horrifying realization. He turns to Lin Miao Miao, asking if she was in there with them. She demands to know why he was completely unresponsive for so long. He comically asks if she'll pay for damages, but she's not amused. Just then, the clan leader's golden eyes slowly flutter open. Wang Yike rushes to her sister's side, who complains of a dizzy head. She has no memory of the illusion's end, wondering why Xu Xiaowen is fine. Lin Miao Miao wastes no time, ordering the clan leader to the association, but Wang Yihan questions her authority, demanding to know who she is. She introduces herself as a section head, leveling a serious accusation. Wang Yihan calls her bluff, demanding to see an official investigation order. Lin Miao Miao's expression darkens, her authority now openly challenged. Lin Miao Miao promises to get the paperwork, but Wang Yihan isn't waiting. The clan leader reveals she knows about Lin Miao Miao's mental powers. Lin Miao Miao is stunned that her own ability was so easily detected. But their standoff is interrupted by a new, imposing figure. Wang Yihan's defiance crumbles, refusing to return with this woman. The newcomer's gaze is cold steel, questioning her insubordination. The powerful clan leader is reduced to a stammering, fearful subordinate. She's given a final order to follow, her will completely broken. Family drama is universal, it seems. But just as she's about to be taken, Xu Xiaowen steps in to object. He confronts the woman, declaring he's onto her little scheme. He calmly reminds them that the rent has not yet been paid. But the stern woman is unmoved, stating this is a family matter. She leads the two sisters away, their business here now concluded. Lin Miao Miao watches them go, noting the strange power dynamic. The moment they're gone, the two roommates are back to bickering. The clock on the wall ticks forward, the morning already half gone. Xu Xiaowen collapses in despair over his still broken scooter. A man has his priorities. Lin Meow Meow blames him for all the chaos, but he refuses to engage. The scene shifts, leaving the apartment's drama behind for now. Elsewhere, a team of suited agents prepares for their next assignment. The woman in charge orders the younger girl to hand over her bag. But it's the older woman who receives a formal, synchronized greeting. She seems completely bewildered by the sudden show of respect. From a window above, Xu Xiaowen watches as they're ushered into a car. A hand suddenly lands on his shoulder. A quiet surprise. It's Jin Shan, who remarks on the shy girl's powerful family ties. She then asks why he'd still bother with deliveries now that he's an agent. The question hangs in the air, leaving our boy completely stumped. He has a sudden, loud realization that his old life might be over. The scene shifts, a proverb hinting at the dangers of a lifelong commitment. A young woman pleads with her attendant, not wanting to be married. But she's told the contract is set, and she has no choice in the matter. Her face darkens with despair, questioning her cruel fate. She gently stops the attendant's hand, a silent moment of decision. The comb is set aside, her protest now over. Her attendant can only offer a comforting embrace, calling it destiny. A voice from outside asks if the second miss is ready for the ceremony. The patriarch's aide announces that the guests have arrived. No pressure. With cold resolve, she agrees to meet them, her fate now sealed. She walks down the long hall, a lonely figure heading toward her future. The aide informs her the wedding is set, but she questions the sudden rush. He warns that the date is final, unless an accident should occur. She accepts her fate with a quiet, somber resignation. But she adds a cryptic note reminding him that accidents do happen. An attendant announces her arrival as she steps into the main hall. A woman lounging nearby compliments her, finding her despair much more appealing. A slow, deliberate clap echoes through the silent room. A man in a suit offers his cold, calculated approval of the arrangement. He approaches her, his gaze assessing her like a piece of property. He stands behind her, a possessive shadow looming over her future. The woman mocks their old-fashioned views on marriage and family. The young bride-to-be clenches her fists, her humiliation complete. But the woman's golden eyes show nothing but cold amusement. The aide explains this is about securing the family's future generations. She declares herself satisfied with the product and the upcoming wedding. She offers a hand, sealing the deal with a triumphant smirk. The aide accepts, their business transaction now officially complete. The second miss asks to be excused, unable to bear it any longer. The woman dismisses her with a casual wave, already bored. She explains away her sister's behavior as simple shyness. The two men finalize the details of their new alliance. The second miss reflects on a life lived as a tool for her family. She collapses in a hidden courtyard, her despair finally taking over. Tears stream down her face, a silent protest against her fate. But even in her sorrow, a spark of defiance remains. A voice cuts through her grief, pointing out her makeup is smudged. "Real smooth, buddy." She looks up in shock, her golden eyes meeting a familiar face. In a moment of pure confusion, she asks how Xu Xiaowen got in. He calmly explains he just walked right past security. Apparently the words "delivery boy" are the ultimate master key. Her composure shatters, her shock written all over her face. She frantically tells him he can't stay here, her eyes darting around. Grabbing his hand, she tries to pull him away, fearing her sister's wrath. She promises to lead him out, begging him never to return. But Xu Xiaowen stops her, asking why she was crying in the first place. Her eyes well with tears again, the question hitting its mark. A sudden rustle from the nearby bushes cuts their conversation short. She freezes, pulling him close as she asks who's there. A man in a formal uniform steps out, asking about the second Mrs. Guest. It's the aide, Uncle Xu, who claims he was just watering the plants. "Sure you were, buddy." The aide's gaze falls upon their intertwined hands, a silent accusation. He asks if this is the real reason she's refusing her arranged marriage. He points directly at Xu Xiaowen, the supposed source of all this drama. Wang Yike frantically denies any connection, trying to shield him from trouble. The aide sizes up our boy, noting his simple clothes and delivery uniform. And suddenly, a light bulb goes off in his head, a very, very dim light bulb. He launches into a dramatic tale of forbidden love between a noble lady and a poor boy. Wang Yi can only listen in horror as he constructs an entire soap opera on the spot. But Xu Xiaowen just squeezes her hand, deciding to play along with the absurd story. He turns to her, asking if she's willing to fight for their eternal love. The aide puts on a show of tears, feigning reluctance. Xu Xiaowen is completely unimpressed by the over-the-top drama. The aide declares he must follow the script of this tragic romance. Wang Yike frantically tries to explain he's just her landlord. But the aide is committed, vowing to test Xu Xiaowen's sincerity. This guy watches way too much TV. Our boy tries to de-escalate, reminding him he's just a delivery guy. The aide points out that no ordinary writer could get in here. With his patience gone, he lunges forward in a blaze of fire. But in a flash, Xu Xiaowen vanishes from the spot. The aide is left stunned, unable to comprehend the boy's speed, but his fiery fist is caught mid-swing. Xu Xiaowen pins him to the ground, offering some life advice. The aide's flames rage, but they can't break the boy's grip. The attack backfires, sending the aide flying backward. Our boy just steps forward, completely unfazed by the heat. He calmly reminds the man that he warned him to take it easy. He notes that this family seems to have a listening problem. The aide asks which clan he belongs to, but Xu Xiaowen claims none. He sighs, frustrated that no one believes he's just a delivery boy. The aide introduces himself as a level 5 user, now completely humbled. The aide sees a worthy opponent ready for a real fight, but Xu Xiaowen calmly tells him he has no desire to fight. The aide is stunned, asking if the boy can read his mind. Xu Xiaowen confirms he can, but denies it's a psychic power. The aide's patience snaps, taking the boy's words as mockery. But in the next instant, his eyes go blank with shock. He turns, stammering the name of the second miss. Wang Yike stands over his unconscious body, offering an apology. Xu Xiaowen can only watch, surprised by this sudden turn. She hoists the man over her shoulder, telling Xu Xiaowen to escape. She tells him to follow the path and get out of here, fast. But Xu Xiaowen asks why she isn't leaving with him. She hesitates, unable to meet his gaze as she tends to the aide. She explains that she can't leave, her wedding is next month. Our boy's first thought, of course, is about the rent money. She tells him not to worry, admitting she was the one who broke their contract. Overwhelmed, she begs him to go, insisting he owes her nothing. But her words seem to have the opposite effect on him. He turns away, agreeing to leave her to her fate. But as he walks away, a new voice commands him to stop right there. The voice belongs to Lin Miao Miao, making a rather dramatic entrance. Wang Yike is stunned to see her other roommate has arrived. Lin Miao Miao grabs his shirt, asking if he was just going to leave. She complains about the trouble she went through to find this place. She threatens to report him, but he tells her to keep her voice down. Meanwhile, Wang Yike is touched, thinking he came all this way for her. The two roommates trade insults, their partnership off to a fantastic start. Xu Xiaowen realizes his curse may have found a new favorite weapon. He ignores her, turning to Wang Yike with a simple offer. His words leave her completely speechless, a single tear forming in her eye. He gives her one last chance, an ultimatum that will seal her fate. Wang Yike hesitates, the weight of her entire life hanging on this one decision. Her resolve finally shatters and she screams out her refusal to be a pawn any longer. With tears in her eyes, she begs him to take her away from it all. Xu Xiaowen quickly covers her mouth, his mind flashing to a bizarre anime parody. He internally apologizes for getting too emotional, a very strange time for a tangent. Lin Miao Miao steps in, offering a deal that involves free rent and a new life. Wang Yike looks at the outstretched hand, a lifeline from an unlikely source. With a quiet word of thanks, she accepts their help, her choice finally made. But when asked for a plan, our boy admits he has absolutely no idea what comes next. A true leader. Lin Miao Miao smirks, questioning his lack of a foolproof plan. He claims he was just checking on a tenant, sending her into a rage. He turns to Wang Yike, telling her to come home with him. But she hesitates, worried about the family she's leaving behind. Xu Xiaowen's words cut deep, telling her Atul has no home. His statement leaves her completely stunned, the truth hitting its mark. Lin Miao. Miao pulls her close, promising they'll figure it out together. With their escape successful, the trio heads off in search of noodles. Priorities. But from the bushes, a hand emerges, their escape not as clean as they thought. The aide cries out in despair, his dramatic performance far from over. The aide lets out a long, theatrical sigh. He dabs his eyes, remarking that the second miss finally has a friend. Later, he reports his failure to the family's matriarch. But Wang Yihan just mocks his definition of incompetence. He reaffirms his loyalty, trying to salvage his dignity. She laughs it off, telling him it was only a joke. But the aide vows to retrieve Wang Yike, his resolve hardened. Wang Yihan tells him to wait, questioning if he's fine with her living outside. She wants to see if this new man in her sister's life is truly determined. Her sister's newfound defiance has finally made things interesting. She struggles to recall the illusion. Certain Xu Xiaowen is the cause. Her golden eyes narrow as she orders her aide to stand down. The aide respectfully agrees, acknowledging her as the clan's patriarch. He then takes his leave, closing the door behind him. But her quiet moment is interrupted by a hulking, uninvited guest. Without hesitation, she launches a banana like a deadly projectile. But her attack is casually caught and consumed in a single bite. She questions the man, Gulu, on his unannounced arrival. The massive man stands before her, his presence filling the room. He then barrels past her, a blur of motion and brute force. He asks why she's been skipping their meetings, a message from their lord. Wang Yihan dismisses meetings as inefficient, preferring a more modern approach. He mocks her clan's reclusive nature, saying their lord is old-fashioned. Annoyed, she tells him to stop eating while he's talking. The question strikes a nerve, and he asks if she's calling him fat. He explains that eating keeps him from getting angry and doing bad things. A classic hangry defense. She cuts to the chase, asking if there's any other reason for his visit. He then asks about the marriage alliance between her clan and the Ouyangs. He answers his own question, declaring the arrangement a success. His expression darkens as he warns her to ensure the alliance holds. Wang Yihan dismisses him, telling him to leave if he has nothing else to say. But Gulu seems to have one last very important question. He points to a bowl of fruit, asking if he can have a snack for the road. He grabs an apple, joking that she wouldn't want him to choke. She asks if he's worried about being seen, but he seems unconcerned. He casually explains that if anyone were to see him, he'd simply make sure they disappeared. Problem solved. With a final wave, he departs, reminding her that their lord is waiting. Left alone, Wang Yihan clutches her head, completely fed up with the man. The scene shifts, returning to the relative quiet of the city. Lin Miao Miao presses Wang Yike for information, but the girl seems genuinely clueless. She questions how the second miss could be so ignorant of her own family's business. Wang Yike insists she's just an outsider, completely terrified by the interrogation. But Xu Xiaowen just sits there, completely over the drama. He casually picks up the remote, a silent protest against the tension. Enraged, Lin Miao Miao hurls the remote at his head, demanding he take this seriously. She laments how hard it was to find this lead, and he just blames her poor mind-reading skills. She accuses him of having ulterior motives for rescuing Wang Yike, but a flashback reveals she already investigated the Wang family's history. She learns of their cruel tradition, sacrificing children for the family's prosperity. Lin Miao Miao reminds Xu Xiaowen that his association training is just 2 days away. Wang Yike timidly asks if she can visit, a lifelong dream she thought was impossible. Lin Miao Miao is surprised, explaining the association values mental abilities, but Wang Yike's confidence is shaken, recalling a warning from her sister. Lin Miao Miao bluntly tells her that her powerful sister has been lying to her. She reveals the association has tried to recruit the Wang clan for years, but was always rejected. A flashback shows Wang Yihan dismissing her sister's power as useless. She was told to just stay home, her dreams crushed by her own family. Lin Miao Miao insists her power is far from weak, a potential game changer. She reminds Wang Yike of how she just took down the aide, but the girl remains unconvinced. She wonders if she truly has what it takes to step out of the shadows. A flashback reveals a childhood spent in her sister's brilliant, blinding light. She was always the forgotten one, a footnote in her own family story. Xu Xiaowen knows all too well that excellence is just another kind of curse. But Lin Miao Miao sees an opportunity, a plan already taking shape.
She asks Wang Yike if she's truly ready to commit to this new path.
With a surge of newfound courage, Wang Yike declares that she is. Lin Miao Miao's sly smile suggests this won't be a simple process. But the girl is determined, willing to do whatever it takes to join. Lin Miao Miao lays out the association's grueling recruitment process. She reveals there's another, more secretive test they must pass. But Wang Yike's resolve is unshaken. She's ready for any challenge. And so, they arrive at the towering headquarters of the association. Lin Miao Miao welcomes them to their new temporary home. The sheer scale of the building leaves them completely speechless. She explains the induction training is a 3-day live-in event. Xu Xiaowen looks thrilled. Wang Yike happily agrees, eager to finally begin her new life. As they walk, Lin Miao Miao gives Xu Xiaowen a final quiet warning. He's to reveal only one power, or risk a much deeper investigation. With that, he steps through the door, his training officially underway. The power level test begins, and a machine immediately explodes. Other trainees face similar tests, the room filled with chaos. The instructor turns to Xu Xiaowen, asking if he's responsible. She recalls warning him to suppress his power, but he just broke the meter. She panics, knowing this will attract unwanted attention from the higher-ups. But our boy has a plan, reaching into his pocket for a solution. He pulls out 2 pink antennae, asking for her professional opinion. The instructor can only stare, completely baffled by his strange device. He explains they're anime-inspired power suppressors. Of course they are. He turns to equip his new gear, leaving her utterly speechless. He asks if his new look is more appropriate. It's a bold choice, that's for sure. The instructor, however, is not a fan of his cosplay solution. He explains he built the suppressor based on her warning about the machine. He admits he's not an expert at making mind-control devices. You don't say, and of course there's a catch. It only works for 5 minutes. Furious, she grabs him and drags him away to deal with the impending disaster. He's hauled down the hall as another trainee watches them go. The instructor barrels through the crowded corridor, clearing a path by force. In the chaos, Xu Xiaowen's flailing leg nearly kicks a calm-looking boy. The boy seems completely unfazed, his mind on someone else entirely. The instructor screams that they're completely out of time. The calm boy with the lollipop wonders who this new person is. She drags Xu Xiaowen into a secluded room, slamming the door shut. Our boy is unceremoniously tossed inside, landing in a heap. The instructor leans against the door, relieved they weren't caught. But Wang Yik is already inside, asking why they were running. The instructor tries to explain just what kind of monster their landlord is. Wang Yiki is completely lost, not understanding what she means. She clarifies that he's strong enough to make the power meters explode. The girl is stunned, wondering what power level could possibly do that. Xu Xiaowen dismisses power levels, claiming he's never been properly measured. The instructor argues that everyone's power is fixed by kindergarten. He casually admits he dropped out after just 1 year. A true academic. He then turns to Wang Yike, asking her to keep his secret safe for now. She blushes, eagerly promising to protect his confidence. Her curiosity piqued. She asks to see the strange suppressor he's wearing. He pulls it off without a second thought, saying it's already broken. Elsewhere, Lin Miao Miao realizes her plan is ruined, her dreams of cash fading away. A chibi version of Xu Xiaowen sarcastically comments on her loud inner thoughts. But Wang Yike is completely impressed, calling him a genius for his creation. The instructor offers to build him a proper suppressor, much to their surprise. She delves into the science of superpowers, a story of ancient radiation. She explains that psychic abilities are simply a matter of visualization, and she confirms Xu Xiaowen's theory was completely correct. Time for a quick science lesson, apparently. Wang Yiki smiles, hoping her family might finally see her worth. But the instructor's expression suggests that's just wishful thinking. She points out his anime antennae are a bit too obvious for covert work. Instead, she offers a simple bracelet as a more subtle alternative. Xu Xiaowen is surprised, asking if she's also an engineer. She explains her power is hypnosis, which she can use to tune the device. The instructor smiles, declaring 3 days is all she needs. He asks why Wang Yike can't just enhance her own abilities. The instructor explains the immense risk of self-manipulation. Xu Xiaowen considers the terrifying possibility of villains trying this, but she dismisses it as rumor with no confirmed cases. Yet, he points out that psychopaths would inevitably try to break the rules. He theorizes it's a shortcut to leveling up, a dangerous temptation. She admits her department has no leads, but promises to investigate. With the lesson over, she tells them to get the suppressor made, fast. The conversation ends, leaving them with a new, dangerous idea. The instructor smiles, confident that her creation will do the trick. She hands him the finished product, a simple, unassuming bracelet. Xu Xiaowen puts it on, asking if they should give it a test run. And right on cue, Lin Miao Miao appears with a brand new power meter. The device registers him as a stable, if slightly wobbly, level 4. The instructor apologizes, admitting she's still fine-tuning the frequency. But Lin Miao Miao is thrilled, thanking her for the invaluable assistance. Her inner thoughts reveal her true motive. Her personal cash machine is safe. Enraged at being called out, she accuses him of snooping in her mind. With the test complete, she tells him it's time to report for induction. Lin Miao Miao tells Wang Yike to wait in her office, separating the 2 new recruits. Wang Yike offers a bright smile and some final words of encouragement. Her innocent cheerfulness catches him off guard, a rare moment of warmth. Lin Miao Miao then leads him to the official onboarding office. He takes in the scene, a little surprised by the mundane setting. The first window is closed, a classic sign of bureaucratic efficiency. He looks at the long, diverse line of recruits, noting it looks just like any other government office. Lin Miao Miao questions his surprise, and he quickly plays it cool. He mentally scolds himself for expecting something more dramatic. So much for a secret agent vibe. She points him to the correct line, telling him to queue up for his training level assessment. She gives him one last piece of advice. Try to act a little more normal. But our boy is already disappointed by the distinct lack of magic and robots. He internally complains that this high-tech agency looks just like a bank. The recruit ahead of him is called forward, a young man named Yuan Jie. The official notes his excellent scores, questioning his choice of the intelligence section. But Yuanjia is unwavering, confirming his decision without hesitation. His paperwork is stamped, and he's assigned to his training room. As the previous recruit departs, it's finally Xu Xiaowen's turn. The official recognizes his name as Chief Lin's promotion, but is confused by his status. Xu Xiaowen calmly clarifies that he's only here on a part-time basis. The official stares him down, a long, silent moment of assessment. With a heavy sigh and a stamp of red ink, he's assigned a room. Xu Xiaowen walks away, sensing he was just being sized up. He's immediately waved down by Lin Miao Miao, his ever-present handler. She asks about the interrogation, and he explains they questioned his part-time status. She confirms he followed her script, a crucial part of her grand plan. He tells her he stuck to the story, just as she'd instructed, and with that, the official simply let him go. No further questions asked. Lin Miao Miao is relieved, explaining those clerks are sharper than they look. But Xu Xiaowen's mind is on the next hurdle, the training, and its dreaded performance tests. She assures him the training isn't a test so he can relax. She lays out the schedule, one interesting test and one boring combat trial. Xu Xiaowen is completely unimpressed by her vague and unhelpful description. She insists he should just experience it for himself, calling it a rare opportunity. With that, she tells him she's off to handle Wang Yik's arrangements. She waves goodbye, leaving him to fend for himself for the next 3 days. He sighs, realizing he's in deep, just as a voice tells him to move. He stands alone in the polished hall, a fish out of water. He turns around, a flicker of recognition in his eyes. He looks up at a hulking figure, asking if he's looking at a minotaur. First day of school is always fun. The horned man snaps at him, annoyed by the unwanted attention. But Xu Xiaowen just apologizes, letting the man pass without a fight. He watches him go, realizing this place is full of all sorts of characters. His only real question is whether those horns were a power or just a bold fashion choice. He calls the elevator, ready to begin his first day of training. He steps inside, his sandals a stark contrast to the formal setting. The doors close, reflecting his bored expression back at him. The car fills with other recruits, and a woman asks him to press her floor. He obliges, selecting the 13th floor on the panel. The elevator arrives, and the doors slide open to their destination. As the recruits step out, the difference in style is immediately apparent. A flamboyant man in a period costume stops to take a quick selfie. Another recruit watches him, sensing they're destined to be in the same class. He arrives at his assigned room number 1302, and just as he predicted, the flamboyant swordsman is right there with him. The man offers a charming smile, ready to make a new friend. He introduces himself with a ridiculously long name and a shower of roses. He's Edward, a level 4 user with a flair for the dramatic. But his attention is suddenly drawn to another familiar face in the hall. He welcomes Xu Xiaowen, thrilled they'll be classmates from now on. A new recruit, Yuan Jie, greets them from inside the room. The class is a mix of powerful users, including 2 martial artist twins. The other recruits offer a simple greeting to the imposing Yuan Ji. But Edward makes a much grander entrance, introducing himself as a prince. He offers a list of nicknames, none of which Xu Xiaowen will ever use. An off-screen instructor tells them to pick up their training schedules. Xu Xiaowen steps forward to grab the itinerary for the next 3 days. But as he reads the document, his expression begins to change. He's left completely speechless by the contents of the schedule. It's a list of mind-numbing lectures, not the hero training he expected. He finally understands Lin Miao Miao's definition of interesting. He finds an empty desk, his new reality setting in. He knows he has to find a way to survive this academic nightmare, but Yuanji approaches, pointing out he's the last to introduce himself. Xu Xiaowen offers a simple introduction. A former delivery man. Yuanji smiles, admitting he was a student who dropped out. Our boy is immediately suspicious of this attempt to build rapport. Just then, a new instructor enters, calling the class to order. Her eyes narrow, recognizing a familiar face in the crowd. And Xu Xiaowen recognizes her too. Jin Shan from the cleaning section. Jin Shan begins the class, announcing they have some required reading. She claps her hands, signaling for the materials to be brought in. A cart groans under the weight of a mountain of rulebooks. So much for action-packed training. The other recruits can only stare in stunned, horrified silence. But Yuanji just smirks, calling it a simple task. We've found the teacher's pet. The class settles in, the mood a mix of dread and quiet acceptance. Jin Shan explains that regardless of their background, they all serve the association. But as Xu Xiaowen scans the schedule, he notices one very important detail. Right at the end of the 3rd day, there's a test with no clear deadline. He glares at the paper, silently cursing Lin Miao Miao for her little white lie. Jin Shan quotes a bizarrely specific rule from the manual. Apparently, bathroom breaks are a serious offense around here. Xu Xiaowen is convinced this is his curse at work again. A pop quiz designed to make him number 1 and then kill him. The lecture shifts to geopolitics, explaining the 5 Global Association headquarters. She reveals a friendly competition is held every 5 years to showcase national strength. The winning continents association will lead the world for the next 5 years. She lets the weight of that statement sink in, the stakes now crystal clear. The other recruits look on, dreams of glory filling their minds. Everyone here has a chance to represent their country on the world stage. But for Xu Xiaowen, this isn't a dream. It's a nightmare he can't escape. He immediately tries to find a loophole, telling the instructor he can't participate. She asks if this surprise quiz is a new addition to the curriculum. Xu Xiaowen questions how a section chief could be so clueless about the training. She explains that chiefs are exempt, and she's been busy dodging her debts. She offers a flimsy apology, admitting she never attended training herself. As a rare level 5 psychic, she was apparently too special for the basics. Xu Xiaowen can only stare, wondering how she's managed to survive this long. He turns to leave, declaring that he absolutely will not be taking that quiz, but Lin Meow Meow leaps after him, calling him her precious money tree. She clings to his leg, warning him that leaving now counts as forfeiting. The news hits him like a ton of bricks, his one escape route now gone. She explains the association's rules are absolute. No one can withdraw from training. And the final nail in the coffin. Quitting the test means he'll be ranked last, which is still number 1. Back in the classroom, Xu Xiaowen's fury reaches a boiling point. He desperately searches for a loophole, even considering injuring himself to get out of it. But the memories of his past lives flood his mind, the curse's grip tightening around him. 3 days later, Jinshan announces the moment they've all been dreading, the final test. The other recruits are completely drained, but Yuan Jie looks on with cold contempt. Our boy is just as fried, his brain completely overloaded from the academic gauntlet. The instructor stands before her class, a silent observer of their exhaustion. With a sly smile, she asks if they're truly ready for what's about to come. But Yuanjia stands, questioning the test's ambiguous deadline. He correctly deduces that this quiz has nothing to do with their lectures. Jinshan simply pushes up her glasses, offering no comment. He presses on, guessing the test must be different for every recruit. She praises his intelligence, but once again refuses to give anything away. With a final adjustment of her glasses, she begins the 30-second countdown. Xu Xiaowen sighs, realizing his only option is to reboot. Again, a voice echoes through the room, the final seconds ticking away. Suddenly, the room is plunged into absolute darkness. The recruits cry out in confusion, demanding to know what's happening. A timer ticks down as a strange gas fills the classroom. Jinshan calmly dons a gas mask, announcing the test has begun. The other recruits panic, wondering if they're being gassed. The final seconds tick away, her expression hidden by the mask. One by one, the trainees begin to succumb to the fumes. So much for Prince Charming, but Yuanjia remains calm, wondering if this is just an escape room. He quickly grows bored of the theatrics, his patience wearing thin. Deciding to just take a nap, he lays his head down on the desk. As the countdown hits 0, Jinshan declares the test is officially underway. But Xu Xiaowen seems to have already checked out, lost in his own world. Xu Xiaowen slowly comes to, wondering how he lost consciousness. He looks around the unfamiliar room, his classmates scattered around him. Wenjia deduces they were all transported here after being gassed. He notes the labeled doors, realizing this is a secret off-the-books location. The sterile, identical rooms suggest a carefully constructed maze. One of the younger recruits is already complaining, asking for a computer. The martial artist twins scold him for his terrible timing and priorities. Suddenly, a screen flickers to life and a voice asks if they can be heard. The disembodied voice confirms the audio is clear, and the test can begin. Yuanjia realizes they're trapped in a fishbowl, their every move being watched. The voice introduces itself as the jury for this little test. A motley crew of judges appears on screen, welcoming the new recruits. The rules are simple. Quitting the quiz means quitting the association for good. Before the test begins, they're told to each choose one item from a table. The selection is bizarre. A jacket, an ice pick, chocolate, squash, water, and sunscreen. Edward is completely baffled by the random assortment of survival gear, but the quiet boy in overalls explains there's a clear pattern to the items. He deduces there are 2 kits, one for a cold climate and one for a hot one. Edward is impressed, though he notes it feels like another boring lecture. He then asks the boy why someone so clever would join their section. Edward explains his choice with perfect logic. Only the most handsome section is worthy of his beauty. On screen, the judge notes their choices with a sly, knowing smile. A quick breakdown shows the recruits and their chosen survival items. The judge then reveals the first twist. Their props will determine their teams. The martial artist twins are completely stunned by the announcement. One of them protests, explaining that she and her sister have never been separated. They can only watch as the test's true, cruel nature is revealed. A glitchy screen displays the complex rules of this little game. The quiz is divided into 2 stages, with points awarded for pressing a button. In the second stage, the first group to act will gain points while the other will lose them. The judge adds that individual performance will also be a crucial factor. The final score is a combination of points, with a harsh penalty for last place. The teams are split, directed to Gate A for cold gear and Gate B for hot. But there's one more twist to keep things interesting. Each team is given a progress indicator to track the competition. Edward, of course, is the first to volunteer for the new accessory. The device will display the progress of both teams in real time. With a final warning to hurry, the stage is officially set. But the martial artist twins share a tearful goodbye, their bond now a liability. They have 10 seconds to enter, or their dream of joining the association is over. The younger twin asks her sister what she's supposed to do now. But Yuanjia steps in, promising to protect her sister for her. He pulls the distraught girl along, telling her to focus on the quiz. The other twin can only sigh, her fate now in the hands of strangers. Yenja offers a final word of comfort, saying they'll meet again soon. With the final seconds ticking away, the teams are forced apart. They're instantly transported to two brutal, unforgiving landscapes. The judge's voice rings out, announcing the first stage has begun. For Team A, their trial will be a battle against the freezing cold. Gate A slams shut, leaving them stranded in the frozen wasteland. The three recruits can only stare, their shock as cold as the air. Edward is the first to complain, realizing this isn't a set but a real frozen hell. Without a word, Xu Xiaowen gives his jacket to the younger twin. She looks up at him, a quiet thank you in her tear-filled eyes. Our boy just surveys the landscape, impressed by the association's budget. He wonders what kind of trial the other team is being forced to endure. As Edward shivers, the girl offers him the jacket, a gesture of shared survival. But the prince strikes a pose, declaring a gentleman never lets a lady freeze. Xu Xiaowen cuts in, telling them to get moving before they all become popsicles. He then gives a grim lecture on hypothermia, a real party starter. Edward voices their frustration, asking how they can proceed without instructions. He demands a target, a clue, anything to guide them through this frozen hell. But Xu Xiaowen realizes their goal is simple: find a way to the second stage. He knows the jury is watching, analyzing their every move from the shadows. He has to find the perfect balance between competence and mediocrity. As they trudge through the snow, the biting cold begins to truly set in. Edward shivers violently, asking if the temperature just dropped again. Xu Xiaowen scans the area, realizing the surveillance cameras are expertly hidden. But if he can find one, he might just find a way out of this icy prison. Meanwhile, Prince Edward's composure completely shatters, begging for a hug. So much for chivalry. The younger twin offers her jacket to the shivering prince. He reluctantly accepts, his dignity taking a backseat to survival. She explains her harsh training has prepared her for this kind of cold. They spot a cave in the distance, a potential shelter from the storm. Xu Xiaowen warns them of snow blindness, urging them to get inside. The small team trudges through the deep snow, heading for the cave. Inside, they find a pile of dry wood, a small miracle in this frozen wasteland. The girl points out the convenient supply of firewood. Xu Xiaowen is surprised by their sudden stroke of luck. She realizes the wood was placed here, a clear sign this test is being manipulated. Xu Xiaowen realizes the test designers anticipated their every move. He knows there must be a clue hidden somewhere in this cave. He asks if anyone has fire powers, but gets a resounding no. He can't reveal his own abilities, and internally blames Lin Miao Miao for this mess, just as he resigns himself to a very, very cold fate. The younger twin cheerfully announces she can make a fire. She begins the ancient, painstaking process of drilling wood. Edward is stunned, never expecting to see this outside of a history book. With surprising speed, smoke and sparks begin to fly, and just like that, a roaring flame bursts to life, saving them from the cold. With the fire roaring, Edward declares this is just like a camping trip. But Xu Xiaowen is focused on the ice pick, questioning its true purpose. The younger twin theorizes it's a clue, a key to solving this stage of the test. Our boy is surprised by her sudden insight, noting her previous silence. She grows flustered, unaware that she'd been so talkative. Edward explains that before this, she'd only clung to her sister's side. Xu Xiaowen reminds them the judges are watching, scoring their every move. He internally assesses his team. One is clever, the other is comic relief. Edward grabs the girl, vowing to put on a show for their hidden audience. But Xu Xiaowen brings them back to the task, pondering the ice pick's true meaning. But Edward suddenly holds up a hand, his playful demeanor gone. He listens closely, hearing a strange rattling sound from deep within the cave. The three of them stand back to back, ready for whatever is about to emerge. Edward confirms their fears, warning that something big is coming right at them. The scene shifts to Team B, who are facing a completely different kind of hell. They trudge through a vast, scorching desert under a relentless sun. Suddenly, the progress indicator on the quiet boy's wrist begins to flash. He announces that Team A has just pulled ahead, their progress jumping by 5%. But Yuanjia spots a building in the distance, a potential objective for them. The boy in overalls agrees, knowing they need to pick up the pace to stay in the game. From the darkness, a small, fluffy creature rolls into the firelight. Edward is startled as the strange snowball bounces right up to him. He stares down at it, completely baffled by this new development. The creature sits down, its big eyes welling with tears as it shivers. But the younger twin is immediately charmed, calling it a little snowman. She kneels down, getting a closer look at the adorable, fluffy visitor. She asks the creature if it's lost, wondering where its parents are. The little thing can only let out a soft, sad cry in response. But in the next instant, it leaps forward, catching her by surprise. It burrows into her arms, not to attack, but to find a little warmth. But Xu Xiaowen is not impressed, convinced this thing is just playing her. Edward is confused, wondering how the huge presence he sensed could be this tiny creature. Xu Xiaowen confirms his suspicion, warning that the real threat is still out there. The younger twin, however, is completely smitten by the adorable little thing. Suddenly, a scream echoes from the cave entrance as two red eyes ignite in the darkness. Our boy's expression hardens. He knew this was too good to be true. A massive, clawed foot slams down, cracking the very stone beneath it. The ground trembles as a hulking figure emerges from the shadows. Edward can only stare in disbelief, his bravado completely gone. The three of them stand together, facing the true monster of this frozen hell. A low growl echoes from the darkness, saliva dripping from its fangs. The beast is a hulking, white-furred monstrosity, towering over them, but Xu Xiaowen's expression remains completely unfazed by the sight. The monster lets out a deafening, earth-shaking roar. Edward and the younger twin can only stare in absolute terror. Our boy deduces this must be the little creature's parent. A very, very big parent. The girl looks down at the small fluff ball, her concern growing. But the creature's innocent act suddenly drops, revealing a sinister glint. It lashes out with surprising force, tearing at her clothes in a flash. The little monster then leaps onto the giant's head, its true nature revealed. The little creature holds up a piece of her torn clothing, a tiny, fluffy trophy. Edward explodes in rage, vowing to kill the creature for its transgression. The giant monster's red eyes glow with pure, unbridled fury. Edward shouts a warning, telling them to watch out for its eyes. But Xu Xiaowen realizes this beast isn't a random encounter, it's the next clue. He recalls the legends of a 7-foot-tall snow monster, but the creature before them is far larger, a 4-meter-tall beast. It's a hulking, muscular monstrosity. Weird is definitely one word for it. Xu Xiaowen knows this is all too convenient, a perfectly timed test. And right on cue, the monster lunges, sending the younger twin flying. Edward shouts at the younger twin, Chun Tian, trying to stop her, but she ignores him, leaping forward to attack the beast head-on. She lands a powerful kick right in the monster's chest. The impact sends the massive creature stumbling backward. Chun Tian lands perfectly, her expression one of cold fury. Her teammates can only stare, stunned by the monster's raw power. She strikes a pose, declaring that betrayal will not be forgiven. The snow beast lets out a furious, pained roar in response. But as Xu Xiaowen moves to step in, she tells him to wait. She knows this is a fight to the death. Either they win or they die. But Xu Xiaowen questions if a direct fight is what the jury wants. But Edward's warning comes a fraction of a second too late. The monster's massive claw comes crashing down toward them. Yet our boy just stands there, his expression one of pure boredom. In the next instant, the beast is sent flying backward through the air. Edward can only stare in disbelief, wondering what just happened. The little creature hides behind its parent, its act of innocence back in place. Xu Xiaowen calmly deduces the monster's foot must be broken. He asks Chun Tian if she can finish the job, and she confidently agrees. With a look of pure focus, she prepares to unleash her final attack. She unleashes a devastating kick, a blur of motion and power. With a furious cry, she puts all her strength into the blow. The attack connects, sending the beast reeling backward. It crashes to the ground in a cloud of snow and debris. Edward can only scream, his mind completely blown by her power. He asks Xu Xiaowen what just happened, as Chun Tian sways dizzily. He questions if the monster was really injured or just scared off. Edward compares the beast to a starter-level video game enemy. Xu Xiaowen agrees, saying they should focus on finding the real clues. Edward realizes the clue must be connected to the tiny, deceptive creature. Xu Xiaowen and Edward are left completely baffled by the sudden victory. But Edward quickly recovers, praising Xu Xiaowen while forgetting his own name for a second. He strikes a pose over the fallen beast, giving his full, ridiculous royal title. The little creature hides behind a rock, its innocent act back in full force. But Xu Xiaowen looms over it, ready to find out what secrets it's hiding. He wonders aloud where the clue could possibly be on this tiny thing. Edward and Chun Tian suggest a more invasive approach, morbidly curious about its anatomy. The creature shivers in terror, its big eyes welling with tears. But Xu Xiaowen kneels down, offering it one last chance to cooperate. And just like that, the helpless creature pulls out a small, ornate key. Xu Xiaowen holds up the key, sarcastically complimenting the creature's eyesight. With the monster defeated, the team finally makes their way out of the cave. The progress indicator on Edward's wrist flashes with a sudden update. Edward praises Xu Xiaowen for the incredible punch that took the beast down. But from a hidden control room, the judges watch their every move. One of them remarks that this particular group is proving to be quite interesting. But the calm boy with the lollipop knows it's Xu Xiaowen who's the real wild card. The scene shifts to the scorching heat of an endless desert. Here, Team B continues their grueling trek through the unforgiving sand. The other twin worries their destination is just a mirage, a cruel trick of the light. The boy in overalls explains the science behind desert mirages, but the older twin is far less interested in a lecture than the crushing heat. The boy confirms that after an hour of walking, the town must be real. Yenja urges them forward, their only hope for shade now in sight. But the older twin can't take the oppressive heat any longer. She decides a change of clothes is in order, right here in the desert. She stands in a much cooler, if significantly less practical outfit. With that, she sits down, declaring it's time for a break. A bold move in a timed test. The boy warns her that exposing skin will only make her dehydrate faster, but she insists her martial arts training has prepared her for this. She's surprised by his stamina, telling him to get up. He checks the tracker. Team A is already pulling ahead. The older twin complains, but the boy insists the town is their only lead. But a new danger emerges from right beneath his feet. Yenja shouts a warning, telling him to freeze. The boy looks on, completely unaware of the threat. In a flash, a blast of energy neutralizes the scorpion. Wenja holds the last of his power, his reflexes saving the day. He identifies the creature as a highly venomous desert scorpion. He explains they're lucky. At night, these things are a nightmare. The boy in overalls recalls a terrifying fact about scorpions. His teammates share his look of dawning, absolute horror. The older twin realizes they're not dealing with just one. From beneath the sand, more of the creatures begin to emerge. A massive, chittering swarm boils up from the desert floor. The boy realizes time is accelerated here. Night is falling fast. Yenja shouts for them to make a run for the distant town. They sprint through the sea of venomous creatures, because one venomous bug is never enough. But Yuenja's patience has finally reached its limit. He stops, declaring he'll thin the herd before they go any further. Wenja's hand crackles with a brilliant blue energy. He unleashes his power, a storm of raw force erupting from him. With a furious cry, he prepares to wipe them all out. A massive shockwave of energy blasts outward from his body. The scorpions are torn apart, their carapaces shattering. But the boy in overalls shouts for him to stop his attack. He warns that this will only make the swarm more furious. But as Yuenja runs, he feels the ground begin to give way. He realizes something else is moving just beneath the sand. Because of course there is. The team makes a desperate final sprint for the safety of the town. But just as they reach the town's edge, the swarm suddenly stops. The older twin is confused, wondering why they're no longer being chased. Wenja realizes the creatures seem to fear entering the town. But the real threat was never the swarm. It was what lay beneath. A massive armored claw erupts from the cloud of sand. The team can only stare as a monstrous scorpion king appears. So much for a simple pest problem. Wenja realizes this is another test, another push toward the town. He knows the jury is forcing their hand, herding them like cattle. Entering the town means falling right into the test maker's trap. But staying out here means facing an endless, venomous tide. The boy in overalls explains that fighting is a losing battle of attrition. He concludes their only real option is to retreat into the town. The older twin and Yuanji prepare for a fight, ready to take on the beast. But the boy wonders what choice the jury is actually testing here. His eyes narrow, a plan finally clicking into place. He suddenly bolts for the town, deciding it's better to regroup than die. From a hidden control room, the judges watch the team's desperate escape. The calm boy with the lollipop asks one of the judges about his interest. The mustachioed judge scoffs, knowing the obvious answer is never the right one. Another judge tells him to calm down, noting this group is finally getting interesting. The judge with the lollipop watches, musing that this test is more like a variety show. Before them stands a crude wooden sign, promising the next clue is inside the temple. The older twin questions the sign's sloppy writing, wondering if it's all a trick. But the boy in overalls knows this is part of the plan. Exhaust them, then lead them into a trap. He smirks, deciding to walk right into it since the judges clearly want a show. He recognizes the classic strategy, a clear invitation into the lion's den. The older twin dismisses the danger, confidently leading the way inside. The boy in overalls jokes that once inside, they'll be like turtles in a jar. Elsewhere, another recruit laughs, amused by their predicament. But his expression darkens as he promises this test will be their last. The boy in overalls taps his foot, his patience wearing thin. The massive doors of the temple slam shut, sealing Team B inside. The tracker on his wrist flashes, confirming their progress has been noted. The hall is lit only by flickering candles, casting long, ominous shadows. They realize they're trapped, their only path leading further into the darkness. The older twin shivers, complaining about the sudden, unnatural chill. Yanja offers her his jacket, a practical solution to an impractical outfit choice. The boy in overalls spots their objective, a single wooden box on a distant altar. The others agree, ready to rush forward and claim their prize. But he facepalms in frustration, begging his teammate to use her head for once. The older twin has already reached the altar, holding the box aloft. But her prize is sealed shut by a heavy, unyielding lock. She realizes they'll need to find a key to open it. So much for a quick win. The boy in overalls scolds her for her reckless impulsiveness, but she just waves him off, confident this is a simple puzzle. As she steps back, her foot presses down on a hidden floor panel. Yen just screams a warning, but it's already far too late.